And we're live here on the Big Factor Monday morning,
Woo!
guys.
Woo! Here we go, Pat.
Yeah, we're fired up. We're fired up. Yeah.
Had to make sure the show was going correctly. Oh, my goodness, guys, fellas. Ryan, feeling a little under the weather today, but we're feeling good here. It's really warm in the studio, as it always is, but feeling good on a Monday morning, guys. Nick looking tan as ever, coming back from Arizona. Got Browns news, Matthew Stafford news. We got a bunch of stuff to dive in today. Where do you guys want to start? How you feeling on a Monday morning?
I feel great, but I didn't really do much this weekend. I was just laying low watching some hockey. So, Nick, you're the guy who was out and about all weekend, breaking character after last weekend. I know you didn't move the car all weekend. You moved the car a bit this weekend.
Yeah, really just moved it to the airport, though, and then a lot of Ubers from there. But, yeah, great time as always out there at spring training. Took over the Big Play Sports Network Instagram for the Guardians spring training opener. It was a lot of fun. Goodyear Ballpark is, beautiful. I've been there a couple times before. But, being there for the opener, people were so excited. It was Guardians versus Reds, too, so a lot of Reds fans down there as well. And, yeah, ultimately just a good time to duck out of the cold, to get, like spring training, like it is what it is. Like at least Saturday, like the main guys played like 2 or 3 innings, and that was that. But baseball's back, like the spring is almost sprung. Like that's really the reason to be excited about spring training, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, we were talking about a pre-show, but Will Brennan being back in starting in right field for us, you couldn't script it any better for me. But I know you're not a big spring training guy.
Yeah, I'm really not a huge spring training guy. And let me preface
it's hard to read into, because here's why. It's hard to read into anything that that took place. Like, the Saturday, like it was great to see the guys back out there, especially for, like I said, 3 or 4 innings. But then they flip it over to the guys that are going to be filling out the minor league clubs. Yeah. So it's like hard to get that excited about what really happened on the field, other than just it was good to see everybody back out there. It was good for me to be out there and in the sunshine. And it just gets you excited for summer. But as far as like on-field analysis,
it's not going to count for much.
Hard to take anything away from what actually happens.
Yeah, and
best shape of their life club, basically.
Yeah, and even when you look at the guys who are playing, like the first couple innings, for example, a lot of those guys, like specifically more so the pitchers, are tweaking things. Like Doug Nikhazy, who pitched for us, had 2 scoreless yesterday. He made the 40-man, like he's working, trying to get up, like, hey, can I be that 5-starter? Can I work into the bullpen this year, maybe? And even I know he was introducing a new pitch over the weekend. Like, he was trying something out he hadn't done in a game for the first time. We talked about a bit with him in the offseason. Like, that's just how it goes this time of the year. And I'm a huge Gabriel Arias guy, as we all know well and love. But I've seen Gabriel Arias hit 450 in spring training for the last 4 years, so I put no weight in spring training.
Yeah, it was cool to see that, though. Like, even Carlos Santana wearing those baggy ass pants in a guard's uniform again. It was like really strange to see. And it kind of was cool too. Like I forget who had that double or whatever, Freeman or somebody, but Austin Hedges up at the top of the railing, slapping the thing. I mean, it's stuff that just makes you feel like summer is on its way. Which is great too, because if we could get away from these Browns headlines, we would, guys. But leading the way today, honestly, was that the Browns released Juan Thornhill.
Not a surprise.
Can we real quick?
I was a little bit surprised.
Highlight real quick?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and we're done. Perfect. Nailed it.
Could we say too, like, I mean, this was one that wasn't a surprise. Obviously, now it's another game of more dead cap space. This is a guy that's owed a bit of money for the upcoming season, and he just never contributed anything on the field. The fact that the Browns moved off of John Johnson III, which was an absolutely epic failure of a signing, to Juan Thornhill, which was, again, supposed to be a big free agent splash. He had won Super Bowls with the Kansas City Chiefs. Big free safety, kind of seemed to be the missing piece on that defense. Never materialized into anything. Like there's a lot of people this morning that are getting their licks in on Andrew Berry, another chink in his armor, if you will, that it just didn't work out. And it's a guy that was paid a lot of money for not a lot of production, but I'll play devil's advocate and give Andrew Berry a little bit of credit. At least they decided to get rid of it now.
Oh, okay.
And cut it out.
I thought you were going to say, hey, at least they tried in free agency.
The epic failure would have been to roll him back out next season and pretend like the previous 2 never happened. So it was for the best that this all ended.
I feel like the secondary for them has been so bad too. Like you think Andrew Sendejo, John Johnson, like you said, Juan Thornhill, like all of these guys have just been awful.
Yeah, I mean, Nick, you brought it perfect. You said it perfectly when you brought up John Johnson. If you know me well, you know that I actually referred to Juan Thornhill as John Johnson the fourth. You know, all season long. I'm not a huge not a huge fan of either of those guys. But that opens my Xavier Watts to Cleveland narrative wide open. So you're going to be hearing about that a lot in the next couple of weeks.
33rd pick. I mean,
right around there.
Browns,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's one too where I and the reason why I give Barry a little bit of credit for this is, I mean, the Browns paid $300 million, the most expensive roster in football last season. They won three games. They paid $100 million per win last year. Like, that's just, no pun intended, not a winning formula. So the reason I give Barry credit for this is it's time to start, similar to what we talk about at times with the guards. It's time to start the youth movement a bit, I think, with this team. And if it means getting young guys like Xavier Watts. I mean, the writing was on the wall for Juan Thornhill when he was splitting snaps with undrafted free agents the last 2 years, that they didn't think too highly of him. And the Browns defense as a whole, it was praying and hoping Myles Garrett and that front did something heroic, and crossing your fingers that there wasn't a blown coverage in the secondary because there was a miscommunication. How many times did we see, Denzel Ward and Juan Thornhill just weren't on the same page? Again, there was nothing that was a surprise about this news this morning. It was time for Juan Thornhill to go.
You brought up a great point, too. I think I speak for all football fans when I say this. There is nothing that grinds your gears or is more annoying than when your defense just out of nowhere, it's second down, you're looking at your phone a little bit, and you just get bombed 70 yards downfield. Yeah. And they're pointing and looking around, and they're doing all that stuff. Juan Thornhill is a legend in the pointing at the other safety business. So it will be sad to see him go, because he was one of the greatest excuse makers on the field of all time.
The greatest part, though, is like you definitely knew what his number was because his back was always turned to the camera. So he was always running backwards trying to catch the Bengals wide receivers, the shitty like Ravens wide receivers too. But the funny part, Nick, too, is that like you talk about $100 million per win. 2 of those came in the AFC North. Like I cannot get over that. Obviously it's not worth it, but like that's so crazy to think about.
It was a bizarre season.
What the hell?
It really was. Every Browns season is its own adventure, and that's consistent for teams around the league. Each season is a new adventure. For the Browns, at times, it really feels like every week is a new adventure.
Yeah, it does.
And that was the case last season. They beat the Ravens in that game that we were at, Jack, when Jameis went nuts for 400 yards, and you're thinking, okay, maybe they could turn this thing around. And they beat Pittsburgh in the snow, and same thing. It was like, well, maybe, at least we know Stefanski could coach, and you lose out from there. The one people don't want to talk about is, I think it was, imagine the Raiders game if that deep ball doesn't get called back. Maybe Deshaun Watson's sitting on a Pro Bowl appearance right now. You never know.
Man, imagine too, because like now the Raiders are going to try to trade up for a quarterback. I think, or maybe if they have to, but are they sitting at 6 right now?
Yep.
So they're looking for a quarterback. Who isn't in the NFL right now? Jack, you said before the show, Matthew Stafford. Albert Breer says that the Browns are going to pursue him or whatever it was. How was the wording there? They would pursue Matthew Stafford if he becomes available.
If he's made available, yeah.
So I think he'd be a great opportunity. I don't think he would really cost that much right now, but he's kind of he would be the biggest name available right now in the NFL. Do you guys want to bring Matthew Stafford here?
I'll say that I think the Browns are interested in Matthew Stafford because they have to be. They have to be interested in Matthew Stafford because they need a quarterback. Their quarterback room is currently Deshaun Watson, whose Achilles tendon is ruptured in half, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who was a 5th-round pick 2 seasons ago and hasn't been able to develop at all. So they need a quarterback, and any quarterback that becomes available, whether that's through trade, through free agency, or through the draft, the Browns have to be interested in. So I think that's about the extent of their interest in Matt Stafford. I think if they can hose the Los Angeles Rams and steal them, they'll do just that. It's the same reason I think the Browns are primed to draft a QB at 2 is because Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are in the mode of it's time to save their jobs, and it's time to coach for their jobs. So if they could get a guy like Matthew Stafford in here, And I don't want to play the can Matthew Stafford convince Myles Garrett to stay game, because I think that answer is no. I think, though, that if you get Matthew Stafford, you could maybe win 9 games, crack a wild card appearance, and fool yourself into thinking that this could be something meaningful. And right now, unfortunately, and let's say that, unfortunately, that's the position that the Browns are in. They need to do anything in their power to right the wrong that was these last 3 seasons of the Deshaun Watson trade. Another piece of Stafford too, and furthermore, why I don't think it's going to happen is he wants paid. This is a guy that's almost 40 years old and he wants paid. Well, you're paying a guy already that's not going to play.
And the thing too is like Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are not walking through the door either.
Yeah.
I know you got Jerry Jeudy and
Cedric Tillman.
Cedric Tillman, get the hell out of here. But he's not going to want to come to Cleveland anyway. It's like bringing in Aaron Rodgers, for that matter, to be honest with you, an old gunslinger. I know Stafford is really tough and would be a good addition. Obviously, Stefanski would love to have him. I just don't know that it's really that worth it for the Browns. But like you said, it's job-saving time,
Yeah.
It makes
They have to be interested. They have to say that they're, what do you expect them to say?
Exactly.
Yeah, we need a quarterback. We have no options, but we're not interested in the guy that, the guy just won a Super Bowl a couple years ago.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be just AB looking to save his job, because I view sports in total polarities of, if you're not trying to be the best team in the league, you should actively be trying to be the worst team in the league. Like, I think it does you no good in any sport to be somewhere between 22 and 13. Like, I don't think that's worth it at all. There's no reason to be there. And Matthew Stafford's not going to take you to the next level. Obviously, you won 3 games last year. I would just keep trying to get worse. Like, this reminds me of why the Nets go get Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett when they were 40 years old, like for no reason, kind of. Like that's what it gives the vibe to me of.
Yeah. And they're still paying for that trade, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, they are.
Still paying for it.
Yeah. So I don't hate the idea. Yeah, and I'm a Matt Stafford fan. I maybe should have prefaced with that. Like, I think Matt Stafford has had an incredible career. Whoever the Browns decide, I hope, and I think we all kind of do almost at this point, I hope that the Browns take a quarterback at 2. If whoever they took at 2, if I could sign a piece of paper the night of the draft that said this quarterback, whether it's Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, whatever, will have the same career as Matt Stafford in terms of stats and a Super Bowl win, I would sign that document sight unseen. But right now, in present day, I don't think Matt Stafford himself is the answer for the Browns, because he wants paid. The Browns aren't going to have money to pay him. I wish, that was
even with the raised salary cap, it's really not going to happen. To be honest with you.
And like you mentioned Rodgers. Like, I think Rodgers might even be more likely, because Rodgers is at least a 1-season type thing where you could have a rookie. If you sign Aaron Rodgers in free agency and break the internet, which it would,
truly.
That still doesn't rule out drafting a quarterback with the number 2 overall pick, because your solution to the future still remains unsolved. Same with Kirk Cousins. We saw the Falcons gave Kirk Cousins a 4-year deal and still draft a quarterback in the top 10. So I think either of those guys, you're still not ruling a QB out, but if you do Matt Stafford, you're kind of ruling out a rookie quarterback, because you have to pay a guy that's going to be 40, and that just doesn't make much sense.
As long as you don't have to pay a draft pick like the Falcons did too for tampering or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's crazy that they have to pay that now. But yeah, so the Juan Thornhill news, the Matt Stafford news came down, but we got to hear a lot more about Nick's trip to Arizona. That's next, coming up on the Big Factor.
Oh boy.
We're back here on the Big Factor, guys. And we got to hear more about Nick's trip to Arizona, spring training. Nick, how'd you feel? A little bit tan, a little bit of color in the skin.
A little bit.
How was that trip to spring training? Goodyear, was it?
It was, yeah. So obviously, like the games themselves are in Goodyear. You fly into Phoenix, and then I actually stayed in Scottsdale this time. Last time when I went with Gab and Mitch Longo, we stayed in Phoenix.
goat.
Yeah, Mitch really is the GOAT. I want to lead with that of, I had a great time this time. I went, myself, my girlfriend Cameron, and another couple. But dude, I missed Gab. I missed Mitch. Like when we went down to spring training, we had such a good time. And obviously, the content that we made down there was impeccable. But yeah, it was good to just escape the cold for a little while. Good to sit in the pool for a bit. Yeah, that's really the extent of it. I wasn't there for that long. I left Thursday and I'm back now. So really, I was gone. My full day's gone on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, so if I do that every show, like you said, but if we were to go out there, what's like the best thing out there in Arizona to hit? Like, is it hanging around the complex? Like, what's that like pregame?
No, I would say don't
Kinda
hang
dead.
around the thing with there's nothing really goes on in Goodyear.
That's what people say.
It's baseball complexes, which is cool. It's cool to drive by and to go to. But you go there for the game and then get the hell out of there. I mean, there's nothing really going on in Goodyear. Go to Scottsdale. Is probably like the coolest kind of happening. Like the amount of what are they called? Like bachelorette trips that we saw throughout, a brief 48 hours. And, they got those big buses where the girls pedal and they're blasting Cardi B out of. Like the amount of those that I saw in 48 hours was absurd. So that was cool. There's a bunch of good restaurants. I did hit Nobu, my first time ever at Nobu.
Okay.
In Scottsdale, which was
Is that a sushi spot?
it's like a I
It's like
forget
an
what they
LA
call
thing,
it.
isn't it?
Yeah,
pretty popular,
The
I like
main
that.
one is in Malibu, I think, actually.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah, so there's only like I think Malibu, Scottsdale, and then maybe Chicago.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like it's small plates. You look at the bill at the end of it, and it's like what the hell. But it was cool, to be able to say that I did it. There was some insane cars outside of the valet there. Like there was a Lambo when we got there with temp tags on it, so probably was a rental. And then when we left, there was a Ferrari with like a Rolls Royce Phantom parked right behind it. So
Dang.
yeah, that's the kind of like the level of clientele that was there. So it was cool to do that, kind of say that like we did that. We had those reservations made for a minute too, so we were kind of able to like
kinda
get
have to
dropped
out
off
there.
at the Uber, roll right in. Yeah, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I saw that Anthony Castrovins, who's going to be on the guards beat
Yeah.
this year, he posted some car getting towed from the facility.
I saw
Did you
that.
see that? That they parked in
Cybertruck,
parked in Stephen Vogt's spot.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it's actually true, but he said this is the last time that I park in Stephen Vogt's parking spot.
Oh.
Yeah, couldn't be me,
Yeah.
especially out in the
Oh,
facility.
it was Gab Gowdy tweeted that she saw a Cybertruck. I also
Yeah.
did.
Really?
I saw Gab Gowdy, friend of show out at the game. Actually, she was in my section, and then she was doing fan interviews for FanDuel Social. So make sure to check those out. But yeah, it was cool, just being out there and kind of what we said at the start of the show, just a signal that spring is right around the corner. It was also nice. I left and it was maybe 10 degrees outside. So to come back today and it's 40s, like wasn't as big of a culture shock. Like I didn't, I wasn't crying this morning when I woke up. Like this is actually pretty
You
nice.
got to catch it on a good day for sure.
Yeah.
Did people? Well, you didn't really have the opportunity, but would people have booed Terry Francona? Because I know he went with the other side.
And dude, because I know, and we had like this show had that clip that went out and went kind of viral. No, in spring training's not the crowd that would even
That'd have been hilarious.
it would have never happened. And I know that the opportunity was never there. There were a ton of Reds fans there. Obviously it's a shared complex, but it not the vibe for it. Even if it was, like even more hostile. There was a chance outside of like kids. I was one of the younger people in there. Like there's a lot of old people that go to those games. There's a lot of old people that live in the Goodyear area, that just kind of like either, move there after, their main life, I guess, to kind of retire, or, that are just from Arizona and became a Reds fan or Indians and now Guardians fan because they grew up so close to the complex. So there's a lot of those people that are kind of at that game, and that's not really a boo Terry Francona crowd at all.
Yeah. Yeah, Jack, we're talking spring training too. Like, is there anything you can take from those games, or do you just kind of, is it just vibes, do you think?
No, I genuinely
vibes?
flush those games so hard because I think it's so impossible to tell what's going
Sure.
on. I mean, it's definitely cool though to like see Boz taking it bad here and there. Like
That
I know
was
he got up
very
a couple
cool.
times towards the end, but yeah, I mean, I'm still very deep in the prospect world, but like it's not as much like I don't know. I just think I came up with like this previous gen of prospects was like who I really like made my love of prospects and like following minor league baseball, and there's a couple duds out of our prospect group, so it kind of killed my spring
That'll
training
happen.
love a little bit. But
Yeah.
it doesn't really do it for me. I don't know. It's like like
It's a
cool.
preseason, like
Yeah.
anything.
It's,
you know,
it's the same
like
as
the
watching John Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah,
NBA
exactly.
preseason, NFL preseason.
Who's that, Giuseppe or whatever that guy
Yeah,
was? The
Damon
Hard Knocks.
Sheets is at
Oh, I
Yeah.
missed that
I
guy.
missed that guy, bro.
Yeah, and the tight Kajust was that the tight end that didn't make the
Kajust,
team?
yeah, oh my
yeah,
God.
maybe we could use him. I
Wow,
think we're
dude.
gonna be dropping
Rogan Roback.
We got rid of Harrison Bryant, right?
How
He's been
about
gone for 2
this?
years.
Yeah. Breaking news from Adrian Wojnarowski.
Whoa.
Oh,
Woj bomb.
Woj bombs are history, and you can now be a part of them. You can own the iPhones that Woj used to report the biggest stories in basketball
Oh my God.
history. He tweeted out a link to bid on his old iPhones, NBA draft credentials, a dinner with
Jesus.
Woj, and more to help support the Bonnie's men's basketball NIL fund.
Wow.
Genius, a stroke of genius from Adrian Wojnarowski. Is I'm sure those phones will be
Yeah.
highly sought after.
It's funny too because him and Shams were talking about how they want to throw their phones in the ocean. So at least he didn't go through with it and throw his phone in.
So
the
I pulled
ocean.
this up. iPhone.
I'm looking too.
The iPhone used to break Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to the Clippers. The highest bid is at $350 already. The Wemby draft credential
Dang,
right now is listed at $200.
that's it.
I mean,
Wow.
he just tweeted this out, but these are going to be, I mean, there's a list of 3, 6, 9, 12 items on here, and the auction ends in 8 days. So next week we'll have to update what these are at. I would
Can we
love.
look at this is crazy though, the cost in the first place. $350
for
for
a credential.
Didn't Paul George suck on the Clippers? Isn't he still on the doesn't he suck there?
He's in
Or he's
Philly.
in Philly.
now.
Yeah, Philly.
Philly
Sorry.
now.
but
I mean,
you
it
go.
didn't work out in the Clippers.
why would
yeah.
you pay $350 for a phone that broke a trade that didn't work out?
I don't know, man. For a piece of the NBA lore, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet you these will be all
Oh,
in
for
the
sure.
thousands.
For sure.
Wow.
I mean, the last ever Woj bomb was Isaac Okoro, right?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
Isaac
yeah.
Isaac loves that.
So that's on here. That's
Yeah.
on the farewell iPhone used for farewell tweet and his final NBA draft. So I imagine the Isaac tweet came off of this
Yep.
one. This bid's already at $500.
Okay. Hey. Does it say what number iPhone by chance? I wonder. Because what if he's rocking like
It
a
does.
5?
iPhone 15.
Okay, 15. I could see Woj being like, yeah, I have a flip phone or whatever. Like, he's not in
Could
that
have a
game.
BlackBerry, yeah.
Yeah. A BlackBerry. I love it, dude.
That's bizarre.
That is so funny.
All right.
Man,
Yeah. Well, that's a good spring training recap. I honestly don't have much more.
Yeah.
At least
There's not much
that-
you can take from it.
Yeah.
But-
A fun time was had, and the big takeaway, and this is what I want people to go home with: baseball's back.
Did you guys
Beautiful.
read anything into those Tito comments with spring training?
What was that? Didn't even see him.
So Tito came out. They asked him about this new pitch challenging system,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Yep, I don't really care. It's not in the game, so I told my vets not to do it because it's not going to be playing during this. It's not going to be happening during the season." And I kind of love that out of Tito. Like he always kind of has that no F's given vibe, and he's right though. Like why would he teach the vets this system that they're not even going to use yet?
Yeah. I could see baseball being baseball and being like, on March 26th, oh yeah, we're gonna do ABS. You know what I mean? Like that is
Yeah.
exactly what baseball would do.
Yeah.
Because Manfred has no idea what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah, he never.
But
does.
like, I could see them just, oh yeah, the game in Japan already happened, which is like counts for the regular season. Then we'll do ABS or whatever. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But
Yeah, they did do the Guardians challenged one.
Yeah.
And it was successful, I
Nice.
think, in the first game that I was at on Saturday, and the roar from the crowd, that it was like the first time that had happened was pretty cool. And it's cool too that like the tech, I don't get why not implement this, because the tech is there and like it worked flawlessly. And they were even able to show like in a spring training video board of the pitch coming in and what that looked like on the strike zone, and that it was confirmed. And it wasn't like an NBA or NFL challenge where they got to put on the headset, bring out the tablets, take a long look. Like it was similar to a tennis challenge where it worked pretty easily. And it got the crowd loved it. So I'm for it. And I know that's the thing. That's the big reason, Jack, that me and Gab went viral a little bit with Tito. He's an older guy. He's doing things the older way. Yep. And it seems like that trend is carrying him to his time with the Cincinnati Reds. Like in a spring training game, if somebody wants to challenge a pitch,
sure,
do it. Who cares?
No,
Who cares?
I am heavily against that opinion after yesterday. I don't know your name, but to the nice man on the Los Angeles Angels trying to crack your first ever 26-man roster, the score is 14-1 in the 9th inning. Jose Ramirez is already in his pool.
Yeah.
Jose's already in his pool. The guys don't stick around in Arizona. You're calling it on a 3-2 pitch, down 14-1. The game goes on. I think they said on the internet it was 5 minutes longer because of it.
Jeez.
They got to put something in place. Like if like 10
a
runs,
rule maybe
10 runs you can't challenge, or 6 runs after 7 you can't challenge.
Yeah,
There's
like
got to
a
be
run
something.
rule.
Yeah,
There should be a run
that's
rule in
bad.
baseball in general, but man,
That'd be funny if like just think about the good old days. Like we'll say David Huff is on the mound for your Cleveland Indians back in the day.
what a pull.
We're down. We get 8 in the first inning. They're just all right, switch.
Game's over.
I wish they
Goody
did it
time.
that way. I wish the pull off the field after a certain amount of runs would be awesome.
They could never do it because of, TV contracts and people buy tickets
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Man.
But
Did you guys
would
see
be
the
funny.
Rockies? The Rockies let up a 3 RBI sack fly. Spring training.
What?
Baseball's so back.
there were some.
Baseball
There
is
were
so back.
I will say there were certainly some low lights.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, that's the thing about baseball, though. But I love baseball more than anything. But like, they got some issues going on currently. But yeah, Nick, you mentioned it too with the Woj news. There's been a lot of NBA headlines recently. The Cavs, 47-10, I think it is, fellas. But we'll hit that on the other side of this break here on the Big Factor.
And then Pat, if you want to. Back into the Big Factor right here on the Big Play Sports Network. We're lucky to be live for you guys every single weekday because of our friends over at Fairway Ford. Go check them out right now, fairwayfordohio.com. Truly the biggest selection of Ford trucks in Ohio. Now take the hour and 15-minute drive. Now the weather's starting to turn. The roads aren't as bad. It was a smooth drive for me into the studio this morning. It's going to be a smooth drive for you out to Canfield to go get your Fairway Ford truck. It's going to save you thousands of dollars on your new Fairway Ford. You get the same hometown level of service. Go check them out, fairwayfordohio.com.
Yeah, guys, we just mentioned the NBA headlines coming out from that Woj news, but the Cavs had a big win last night against the Memphis Grizzlies in an absolute rock fight. Felt like 4 hours long, but Cavs still up at the top of the NBA. A lot of news going on. Victor Wemby, I'll just call him Wemby. I can never get his name right, but he's going to be out the rest of the season with blood clots. Joel Embiid still seeking another opinion on his knee. Kind of just clearing the way for the Cavs, in my opinion. I don't know, but it just doesn't seem like it's a really strange NBA season. The Cavs and the Thunder are up at the top, but I don't know what to think about it with all these injuries and everything like that.
Weird year for the NBA. We could start with the Wembanyama news. I mean, pour one out for Spurs fans, but at the same time,
Plus Popovich.
Greg Popovich. They're in a weird spot because they were, made the De'Aaron Fox trade under the assumption, hey, we're right there on the cusp of the play-in tournament. You make some noise, play-in tournament. You crack the playoffs, anything can happen. Yeah, that's all dead on arrival now that you're going to be without Victor Wembanyama. The De'Aaron Fox trade is pointless now. Honestly, if I'm San Antonio, I probably try to find a way to shut down De'Aaron Fox for a little bit, just to tank a little. You got Wemby.
Can't say it out loud. Can't say the tank word.
You got Wemby. You got Fox. You get into that lottery. God forbid, they were able to get the number 1 overall pick and get Cooper Flagg to pair with those two. I don't think that's going to happen, but you could still get a really good player at the top of this year's draft and just load up for next year. So the Spurs are in a weird spot. Their season's over. And then for the 76ers, I mean, their season was over when it started. The pairing to me of Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid never made a whole lot of sense to begin with. I get they were trying to do what they thought they had to compete with the likes. It's really a credit to what we have here in Cleveland with our Cavs. But also too, let's not pretend like the Boston Celtics didn't just win the title. The New York Knicks had a baller offseason, and that, again, that one isn't exactly working either. But the Sixers did what they had to do, and they're paying the price now because Paul George hasn't done anything. Tyrese Maxey's the best player on that team, and nobody talks about it. Right. And yeah, Joel Embiid is back to hurt, which has kind of been the storyline of what's plagued his career and what stopped him from being great, and really what stopped the Sixers from being consistent title contenders here in the East. So that's kind of the news and notes from around the league, at least from my lens.
I mean, it's just so weird. Joel Embiid too. Reports coming out of Philly now, oh, should we just sit him out the rest of the year? How many games has the guy played? 15?
Yeah.
Can you really sit out a guy who hasn't played all year long? I know there's the classic, if a tree falls in the woods and no one hears it. The guy hasn't played in the first place. How can you hold a guy out of playing if he doesn't play?
And we talk about, some of the bigger issues that surround the NBA in terms of, viewership and those first quarter ratings that came out and they were horrible. If you're think about this, right? I'm a basketball fan. I tune into the Cavs, and then when I can catch the nationally televised games, I've been locked into these Luka Lakers and, some of the other big marquee matchups around the league. If I'm a Sixers fan and I've had to deal with this absolute ass ache that was this Joel Embiid thing, he hasn't played, now he could be shut down. I'm turned off on basketball right now. I just won this Super Bowl. I'm getting ready for the Phillies to report, who are expected to be a good team again this year. I'm turned off on basketball.
That's why we're not hearing anything about Maxey.
I'm not tuning into anything. Not only am I not tuning into the Sixers, I'm not tuning into anything. So that's the issue with basketball right now is they're pissing off their fans, and that's not good. It's something that baseball did, and is the process.
Is the process dead? I mean,
can we confirm it?
I think so.
Should we hold a funeral?
It was dead on arrival, in my opinion. But I mean,
it
is confirmed dead. How could it not be? Because
Jared McCain's the only thing holding out. I feel bad for that kid out for the year,
hurt,
man. He was playing awesome until he got hurt. But
yeah, for real.
Maybe he could help their
He was
future.
something, man. When the Cavs played them earlier in this year,
he was sick,
he was a breath of fresh air, dude, for real. And it's so funny because you're so right about the Eagles being good. It takes all the pressure off of the Sixers for no real reason. Because you brought in Paul George, you still had Joel Embiid. The process has been going on since I was a freshman in college, a decade ago, and we have nothing to show for it.
Ben Simmons has been on 4 different teams.
Yeah.
Jesus, man. And he just got bought out, and so the thing too is have they made an Eastern Conference Finals? Was it just the one?
Just the one.
Just the one? I mean, the process
and that
is
was
certainly
6-7 years ago now, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like that was 2 years ago even, or even the Heat right now. It's okay, they've gotten to the finals a couple times. I know Jimmy's gone, but they're respectable. You don't have that with the Sixers.
They're a stable organization.
Stable,
that's a model organization. While right now it looks at least in Miami, you lose Jimmy Butler, you're probably going to do a little bit of a recycle/rebuild. You have faith in what's running it and what's happening. The Sixers just consistently do this thing where they try to sell themselves on the fact that this is the year. I mean, this year out the gate, they fell out the gate. That it was never going to be the year. Paul George and Embiid started the year hurt. like they at least have McLean that they could hold on to, but outside of that, what are we really doing?
And it's just so tough too, because like I'm a guy who's getting into the NBA, like didn't grow up as an NBA guy, but Paul George, like I think of Pacers Paul George, I think of him at first, like that, like just nutty playoff B, whatever, Lance Stevenson blown in an air. But since that time, it just, to me, it seems like if you're an NBA GM and you just like maybe lost your wife in a tough divorce or like an affair, the kids are gone, I don't know, you got to find a new house, like you're going through like, oh, how can I change my life? Little midlife crisis here. I'll go get Paul George for my basketball team. I just feel like Paul George jumps around the league from B-plus teams, hoping that he will be that last piece or the big piece to push them up another level, and he just has not been once in his career. I feel like James Harden is a little bit like that as well.
Yeah, the biggest favor that Paul George ever did us was when he dressed up for Halloween as Where's Waldo. So he went missing in the playoffs, and we can use that every year.
Endless meme,
oh my God, I love
Pandemic
it.
P, playoff
Pandemic
P,
P,
podcast
playoff
P.
P, podcast P, we love it. But you mentioned it too, like Jimmy Butler. Some of these trade targets are really starting to gel as well too, because I mean Jimmy Butler
Nick,
20
we predicted this one.
Predicted this one. Like I don't know if you saw Podziemski, I think is his name, on the bench with Jordan or with Jimmy Butler yesterday. They were like drinking the wrong Gatorade or whatever, and they're having just like an actual good time. So like Jimmy's playing well, and he's one of the more fickle superstars, I guess you could say, in the league, where vibes have to be correct for him to play well. But it's kind of interesting because the Warriors could make some noise, honestly.
Yeah, they could. They always could. That's always there. That trade was one that confused me a bit at the time, just because they were similar to the Spurs. They're down there at the bottom of the Western Conference. They're trying to make a playoff spot. Obviously, a lot of basketball left to be played, but they disregarded their future for this Jimmy Butler trade. So they banked on the fact that the vibes were going to be right. This was an environment that Butler was going to thrive in, and that they were going to be not only a playoff team, but a team that could make noise in the West and be back there in the picture for the NBA Finals. And so far, it looks okay. It looks like it's working. Same thing with Luka in LA. I know it was a weird 3-game start, but they just snapped Denver's massive winning streak by over 20 points and looked great doing it. So yeah, things are heating up in the association, and it is cool to see that our Cavs, like not to bring everything back to me being a homer, but it's nice to see that the Cavs, are still right there up at the top of it all.
Yeah, and it's cool to see too, because like there's upper echelon teams. We just talked about this on the Matt Fontana shows. Like the upper echelon teams right now, I think, are the Cavs, Thunder, and Celtics. Fair. And I don't think they're maybe the Bucks, I guess, but like there's really no other teams in my mind that are really top talent of the league. Like the Knicks are 0-7 against those 3 teams that I mentioned. So they don't scare me at all. They're a shadow of the Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson team that beat us in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think the Cavs are rolling. I don't want to get too up with it because it just feels like Boston could just drown us in the playoffs. Yeah. But man, I'm keeping out hope. Holding out hope on this team.
Go. Mine was not Cavs related, so go for it.
So mine is NBA related. As much crap as people want to give the NBA, and a lot of it's warranted right now, and I am a lifelong NBA fan, and you could tell the difference of the product even from what it was a decade ago. As much as people want to crap on the NBA, there's parity right now. And what do we want in sports? We say all the time, especially like as fans of a small market team here in Cleveland, like you just want a chance. And right now, I'd imagine, even though, Pat, that the Knicks have been that bad against the top teams in the league, and the Cavs did just embarrass Memphis, I imagine if you're in a city like that and you're a fan of a team that's in the playoff picture, you believe that you have a chance, because you could see a path through for all of these teams, and you could see holes in all of these teams and where they could be exploited. So right now there is great parity in the league right now, and as much as everybody wants to point the finger and laugh and joke at Adam Silver, and it was easy to do after what happened at All-Star Weekend and all that stuff, there's a lot of reason to be optimistic if you're a fan of any of these top teams, that you could be the team that hoists the Larry O'Brien at the end of it.
That was a great point, because I was actually also going to bring up the parity in the NBA right now, because I'm a guy, when I look through the brackets every single year, like picking out like, am I, as a casual basketball fan, going to tune into the first round this year? Usually it's no. But I'm looking, that 4 or 5 matchup is almost always like a budding rising star. Maybe doesn't have, I dropped my phone, maybe doesn't have the total pieces around him yet to build up to that 1, 2, 3 seed. Then your Paul George midlife crisis type of team who's like, okay, they should be higher. They're not there. They suck. But there's a chance right now. The West, I know the West, like that 2 through 6 is kind of changing every single day. but I was looking at the projections for what it might be for the end of the year last night, and I think it's looking like it's possible we get a Lakers-Rockets 4-5.
That would be
I
crazy.
think that would be such a sick matchup to watch because, like, obviously adding in like the Luka and LeBron together, but the Rockets are such a fun young team with so many good pieces. Like, I think Sengun is a big, kind of creates that challenge for the Lakers as well. So, like, I don't know. I think that'd be a really fun one.
I think so too. And I mean, Matt brought it up on the show. Like, I didn't even cross my mind that the Grizzlies were second in the West.
Yeah.
Like, I know the West is always its own beast because we don't watch those games late at night all the time. But Memphis, I know they were good, but they didn't strike me as the number 2 team in the conference. You know what I mean? Like, they played well, but maybe that's just how far the Cavs are above them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
And that's another thing with the NBA is it's kind of a night by night league a little bit, but Cavs were able to do that without Darius Garland against one of the top teams in the West. Like that was really a duplicate performance of the Knicks game, you know, from a couple nights prior. A lot of people in Cleveland here, you know, put a lot of expectations on that game. You got to beat New York. You know, that was the team that gave you fits. They haven't been as good this year. And the Cavs were able to handle business against one of the top teams in the East, even though they haven't won those big games in the Knicks. And then they were able to replicate that against one of the top teams in the West. This is a gauntlet of the Cavs schedule right now. And for them to not only be winning these games, but winning them semi-comfortably, it bodes well, especially coming out of the All-Star break with no rust at all, just continuing to hit this stride. And how about Ty Jerome?
Oh, Ty Jerome's unbelievable.
That was incredible.
6th man of the year? Question mark?
Should be. I don't know if
DeAndre doesn't win it.
But
yeah, DeAndre, right. We got both of them. Man, those are your NBA headlines. And guys, coming back out of this, we're going to hit a rapid-fire NHL, NFL combo round. Welcome on back into the Big Factor. We got a little bit of a rapid fire round here, guys, as they put on the old headphones. We'll get to that in a second here, guys. But the first one that we want to get to, Shedeur Sanders, not throwing at the NFL Combine. What are your thoughts?
Womp womp. Who cares? I mean, he's going to be a top 5 pick. I would do the same exact thing. I don't. This is much ado about nothing. Caleb Williams didn't throw. Joe Burrow didn't throw. Like, this is. I bet Cam Ward won't. You know, as the week progresses, maybe he will, but. Absolute nothing burger of a storyline. He has 4 years of college football tape, which is more than most guys have. So lean on your tape. You know, I have not an issue with that at all. I'm heading out to the Combine tomorrow morning, so excited to be out there in Indy all week. We'll get to talk with Shedeur, I believe Friday is his media availability. Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Barry will speak Tuesday and Wednesday. So busy week down there in Indy, and it's here. You know, NFL draft season's in full swing. I know people tried to get their takes in, you know, last night about Shedeur not throwing in the Combine, but in my opinion, it doesn't need to. There's nothing that he can gain from throwing at the Combine. He's a guaranteed top 3 pick.
Yeah, very quickly while we're on the topic of throwing at the Combine, I still, every single day, maybe I'm just on the algorithm for it. I don't know what it is, but I see Tyler Shaw from Louisville rocketing up draft boards every single day for quarterbacks. I saw this kid play in person against Notre Dame this past season. Tyler, if you're listening to the Big Factor this morning, I do have one suggestion for you. Don't throw. Do not throw. Keep climbing. Don't throw. Do not throw, Tyler.
Okay, hashtag do not throw Tyler. But do you want to tee this one up, the hockey one?
Yeah, sure.
You've been so Jack is his dad was the head hockey coach at St. Ignatius for a
Still
while.
is, yeah.
Well, yeah. For how many years now at this point?
Took over in 2005, so I think we're looking at this is year 20. Yeah.
How about that? But so you've been behind the boards for many, many, many years of your life. Have you ever been a situation like this where you've been nearly haircut or gotten busted up lip?
I've gotten hit by a puck in my day, but not in this scenario. Yeah.
So you want to tee this up? We got this right here.
The Buffalo Sabres, folks. The organization, everyone in the NHL is messing with them. They haven't been to the playoffs in 13 years. They are known for not having any identity or physicality. And the one man who brings the boom in that organization is color commentator and NHL Buffalo Sabres legend, Razor Rob Ray.
The puck is dropped, and it's 4-0 here in the opening period. And Razor just took another one.
They're up 4-0, by the way.
Was a rocket.
Let's see that again.
The broadcaster got hit?
Yeah, he's
right middle ice.
It's dropped, and it's 4-0 here in the opening period. And Razor just took another one.
That just perfectly encapsulates the Buffalo Sabres season so well.
And that
I'm a
was
guy who's picked the
rocket.
Buffalo Sabres to finally figure it out every single year for the last 6 to 7 years. But
man.
the Sabres just can't find their way. They have the longest active playout drought in all of sports, and it even extends to the sideline reporters. Rob Ray just eating one. I don't know if you saw the picture of him with the black eye after, but he looked pretty badass. He's a tough son of a gun.
Right down the bridge of his nose, man.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
tough.
That's
tough scene.
I love the
how can you
players.
say-
I
how
love
can
the
you say-
players went and checked on him
Oh,
as
yeah.
if he was
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
guy on the bench.
And
dude.
I didn't know you could say fuck on TV like that.
Yeah, well, you can't
Yo,
really
you
bet.
can't. Yeah.
So how do you get away with that?
Well,
It's just live. So
yeah,
I
it's
don't-
live.
If they
Oh.
didn't
Yeah.
catch it with like the 7-second delay or 10-second delay, then it just goes out.
Yeah.
So is that a
So-
fine, do you think?
Oh,
Or do you
Yeah,
think-
for sure. For
That
sure.
Even if he gets hit in the head, that's a fine.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Because the kids are watching the kiddos. But
Yeah.
Okay.
Good
Man.
little FCC violation on the
Yeah.
way.
I like that we get Jack on the show because we get some hockey too. Because do you think Alex Ovechkin gets? He had another hat trick, right?
Yes, he just had a hat
yeah.
trick, and this is for people who aren't big hockey guys.
This is
Alex
huge.
Ovechkin now just 13 goals off of breaking a once unthought to be broken record of Wayne Gretzky's goal count, and it was like Ovi's just weird because he's just this old Russian dude who just stands on the circle and knocks everything home on the power play. He's got one of the best one-timers of all time, and Ovi, man, he's just hanging around. It seems more and more like he's going to do it. Obviously, it seems like he's really going to do it now, but the guy broke his leg this season, and he's already back doing this. I mean, it's
incredible.
crazy the way his body just reacts. I mean, there's all the jokes out there about the Russian gas. Who knows what Ovi does in his free time, but man,
Not
is
for
he
me.
sticking around. And one of the greatest ever do at the grade 8.
That's not for us to know. You know what he does in his spare time in Siberia. I who's to say? But honestly, too, I'll pull this back up here for the broadcaster. Look at this.
Look at Razor,
Oh
baby.
my god, dude! So getting hit by a puck, I've never experienced anything like it. I've only gotten hit one time, and there was like at open skate type of deal. That hurt so much. I've taken baseballs to the face, whatever, but getting hit by a puck was like the strangest feeling too, because like
Yeah,
you
it
can't.
sucks.
You're already cold and that shit, but like oh my God.
The one I got hit with, it was like during warm-ups. It hit, it deflected off the ceiling and landed on my head.
Dude.
But I was wearing a hat, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
but
sure.
it definitely hurts.
Yeah. One of my favorite things too. Have you seen this Wayne Gretzky commercial, the Capital One, I think it is, where they call him Dwayne Jetski? Can we just
No.
refer to him as that? What's that girl's name from The White Lotus? Oh my God, the actress's name. I can't think of her name right now. But
Usually we ask you if
I know,
yeah.
right? Hanford and Gab do all the time. But
Yeah.
they have a commercial with Wayne Gretzky and they call him Dwayne Jetski.
Interesting.
But I digress. Yeah, we had to get to that though, guys. We'll come back
Cut
with
Justin
our,
Tucker. Do it.
Yeah, well, we got to get. We'll ask Hanford on his show what his best friend Ozzy's going to do about Justin Tucker. But I don't know if we need to dive
Yeah,
into that
Stay
one.
tuned in for that.
Yeah, we're gonna get our closing thoughts coming up next. Yeah, speaking of Jennifer Coolidge coming out of the break here, you're back on the Big Factor. But favorite movies, guys, for your closing thoughts? Mine's The School of Rock,
School of Rock
Yeah.
is a good favorite.
which Jennifer Coolidge co-stars with whatever his Mike White on
Is she
The
the
White
principal?
Lotus. I don't know. I've never seen it, but
No, in School of Rock, I'm asking.
Joan Cusack, I think she's the
Oh,
principal.
that's it. Yeah, okay.
But Jack Black is this goated. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
But favorite movies though?
Favorite movie, dude. I don't know if it's my. I guess it is my favorite. Ferris Bueller's Day Off was,
Classic.
it's a classic. It was my senior quote. Like, that's one wherever it's like on TV, like even with the commercials, like you got to just throw it on and have it on in the background. Like that, it was like I watched that movie for whatever reason. My parents let me watch that movie like when I was like kind of young. So I kind of thought that was what high school was going to be like. So like I kind of just like aspired and built like my character around Ferris Bueller.
Nice.
And I think I still kind of live that way, to this day. So yeah, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is just a classic. And I think I'd have to say that that's my favorite.
Jack?
Man, it's tough. I'd probably say either Shawshank or The Prestige. I love The Prestige. I'm gonna go with The Prestige. I'll lock in The Prestige as my answer.
It's kind of a deep cut there.
How about speaking of Shawshank, have everybody here been to the reformatory?
I have not been. No,
I've driven past it a million times.
never been inside.
I'm the only one that's been inside of that
Which
thing.
is crazy because I lived like 10 minutes from there previously.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
We got to maybe we'll take a
I would love that.
That'd be sweet.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
Like,
they have a music
around
festival there now. Did you know that?
And like around Halloween, I know they do like haunted tours. Lil Wayne's all gold jail cell from the Go DJ music video is in there. I have like a photo of
artifact.
I have like a photo of like me in like 7th or 8th grade, and like I had like the long kind of like swooped over hair, like in Lil Wayne's Go DJ.
Oh yeah.
Jail cell is in. It was shot in Ohio. So
yeah.
Take that
come
with
for
you
the
guys
sports
today.
sake, stay for the Shawshank.
I will give you my closing thought. Would
Okay.
like to shout out my fellows over at John Carroll Hockey for
Oh,
punching
dude,
their
yes,
ticket to Nationals over the weekend. Underdogs against IUP coming into the championship game. 2-time defending conference champs. Blank them 6-0 as underdogs. Always a good feeling. Have fun in St. Louis, fellas.
That's it for the Big Factor, guys. We'll catch you tomorrow.